Hey there gamers, welcome back to the Board Game Co channel, and today we have a preview of Terminus Frontier. Hey there gamers, it's Professor Meg here, and welcome back to the Board Game Co channel. Today we have a preview of Terminus Frontier. Thank you to Forge Board Games for sponsoring this video. This is a current Kickstarter campaign, so you can check out the link down below for absolutely everything they have planned, especially because this is a game that has both standees and miniatures, so I want to be sure that you're able to check that out. Now that being said, everything that you see in front of you is a prototype, so all of the rules, components, and things like that are subject to change. Now in Terminus Frontier, you're going to be playing as a cooperative team, and before I get into anything, I just want you to know that there are many ways to play this game. Now you can play it solo, so there's already that, but there are multiple different modes for the different scenarios that you'll be encountering, and if you want to, you are able to try out different one-shot scenarios. So there are some one-shot scenarios that don't tie too much into the campaign story that you're able to choose and play those if you'd like, and if they're higher level, they'll show you what to upgrade and what to take to be able to play those, but there is an entire campaign for you to play through, and within that campaign, there are like 3 different types of scenarios that you can encounter. So there are the normal types of encounters that you will see where you are walking around trying to encounter different things. For example, this current scenario, you were trying to save these different people that are out there, but you are also trying to take out the enemies. But there are also boss battles, and when you are fighting in the boss battles, you are focused on that particular boss, and then they have special things like armor and things like that depending on how you maneuver around them. And my favorite thing is that there are also stealth missions. So there are some missions where you are trying to move around the board quite tactically, where you know that the enemies are going to be moving in a certain pathway, and you're trying to catch them by surprise and take them out. Now, for those of you that don't like spoilers, we are currently looking at Scenario 1, and as I said, some of these are designed to also be able to be played as a one-shot, so this one won't give too much away, I don't think, and I think it will give you a great sense of how to play the game. Now, I currently do have the board set up for 2 players, but I only have 1 player board here showing in front of you, the Maverick, because honestly, she's the coolest. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're going to use the scenario book, and that's how you are going to set up the particular scenario that you are at. If you are in the campaign, there are branching story pathways that you will only have certain options depending on the choices that you make. But that being said, here you can see how you would set up the scenario. So it tells you which tiles to grab, the terrain, and what to place where. And then on top of that, it gives you a little bit of a scenario intro with a bit of flavor text of what exactly you're trying to do. For example, in this one, we are trying to locate the butcher and take him out if we were able to do so, all while trying to make sure that these colonists stay alive because they're pretty innocent. You can see here that the difficulty is 1, and with that, this will get you going to be able to play the scenario. Now, not to move too far ahead, but here you can see some of the suggestions for when you are starting off the game, and then after this, you'll see the different things that will trigger when you hit certain scenarios. So I'll explain more about this, and you'll understand when we would get to these points, but just know that you'll read certain things that will trigger throughout the game, and they will happen so that it will change up what's happening to the players. Now, it can be things like ambushes or the enemies changing what's happening, but all of it is going to have a narrative element tying into the scenario that you're playing. Now, I do have this game set up for 2 players, and all of the different characters are going to be very unique. So at the beginning of the game, you're going to choose the character that you want to play as, and they're going to come with a few different things. Now, you have weapons in this game, and most of them are going to be guns, where this is a space-themed game, but some of them are also going to be melee weapons that have different rules that are also very interesting. Now, you have your guns that come with their ammo decks, which we'll go over in a minute, but you also start off with skill cards. These skill cards are going to be how you're taking your actions throughout the game when it's your turn, and on top of that, you have a mantra card that you're going to be able to build up toward these really cool moves. So here you can see the Maverick's starting guns, which would be 2 identical pistols because she's a pretty cool dual-wielding gunslinger, and here are the ammo decks for each of those guns. Now, here are her skill cards that she will be able to play, and at the beginning of the game, you draw 5. You are able to mulligan, but typically you have your hand limit, which is 5, and you will draw up to that amount of skill cards. Certain things will be added into your deck that will slow you down, but that being said, you'll be moving through your base skill cards to be taking your actions throughout your different turns. Now, speaking of turns, that's all going to be determined by this board here when you choose your squad formation. Now, this is something that is extremely unique for Terminus Frontier, and at the beginning of every round, players are going to be able to choose what role they would like to take in the squad, and that will therefore determine their initiative. So you can see here to take point, you would be first initiative, whereas if you took rear guard, you would be in the back at an 11 initiative. Now, you don't yet know what the enemy enemy AI is going to be. The enemy AI is also going to fall somewhere within this line, but you can see that the enemy is these red lines, such as, they could be a 2, 6, 10, etc. So you'll be drawing a card from here, and depending on the enemy squads, you will place their different tokens. Now what I mean by that is that we are currently facing off against a yellow squad. There are 4 different scrappers over here, but we don't have any of the red or black squad, so we don't have to worry about them yet. Now, I'm just going to simulate a turn for you to go through this just to see what it would look like, but we will decide that perhaps our Maverick will go first and take a point, and then down here, for the Zealot, we can have them choose to do the flank formation. So once you've placed everyone, you will then choose the enemy AI card and see where they are going to land. So we're going to flip this over, and they have seize the initiative. Unprepared for your squad's sudden assault, the enemy is taken by surprise. Now that means that they're going to be a little bit slower this turn. So for our yellow squad, our beta squad, we are going to put them at initiative 8, and that's where they would fall in that line. So for example, if anyone had taken either watcher or rear guard, they would be taking a turn after the scrappers instead. Now, immediately this is going to cause a few things, which is really great for this team, and let's be honest, I planned it that way. We have our colonists here, and they start off at a 3 threat level, which makes it pretty dangerous, and they may be attacked. So here, taking the point, the Maverick is going to be able to get 2 action points for their turn, but they're also going to get a +3 threat. Now, this can be dangerous because when you are the highest threat level, that's who's going to be targeted first, but that being said, we don't need the colonists being attacked and dying on our hands, where we're able to protect ourselves and fight off a little bit better. So in this case right now, we're going to try to save the colonists and bump up our threat level to see if we can get higher than them and become the target. So here, the Maverick's threat will go up to a 3 from this, but other future things can also force it to go up. And then also taking the flank, the Zealot will move up to 2, and then they would be able to immediately move 2. Now, they are already next to an enemy, so I think they would stay there, but they would be able to immediately move 2 if they would like. Now, another thing that will happen is as you rise on the threat track, you will gain resolve tokens. So here you can see they went by a 1 and a 2, gaining 2 resolve tokens, and they are then placed here in the resolve area. So 2 would be placed in, and these are what you are used for your mantra. Now your mantra is very cool, and you can choose to spend either 1, 2, or 4 of your resolve to do different things, but they're all going to be these extra things that you are able to do that are specific to your character and very, very strong. Now, once the squad formation is complete, both with the squad and the enemy AI, that's when you'll have everyone's initiative and you'll be able to go through player turns. So as I noted, both of these characters would currently have 2 action points available. However, if they took one of these 2 roles, the primary gunner or the fire gunner, they would have 3 action points instead. And if you took the watcher or rear guard, you would instead have 2. Now, things like the rear guard can also help you reduce your threat instead, and do things such as heal yourself or reload your ammo, which again, we'll talk about ammo in just a moment. Now we're going to take a turn with the Maverick's starting cards just to give you a sense of what the gameplay is going to be like. Now, some of these cards are actually going to cost you 0 action points to be able to play, so they're going to be able to get you ahead in the game and do certain things. Also, some of them are going to cost you up to 2 action points, and yes, that's expensive, but that also means it's very strong. There are also base actions that you'll be able to take where you can discard a card and then use one of the base actions instead, and to do that, they will all cost you 1 action point. Now, for an example of the cards that you'd be able to play, for example, here's one that you'd be able to play for free, which is Flash Fire. Now, you would increase your threat by 1, which means we would already be higher than the colonists, which is great. And then you would be able to perform a pulse attack. So you have your different guns available, and they have their ammo that comes with them. So to be able to perform different attacks, you'll be drawing from your ammo decks. So for example, these are Falcon R22s, but the class of gun that they are is a pistol. The pistols have a set 6 cards, and these are the 6 cards that are in the ammo deck of every pistol. So that's what you're going to start off with. You will shuffle these, and then you will perform the different types of attacks. So for example, where this was a pulse attack, you would draw just 1 card and see what it does, and this one is 3 damage, so that's pretty great. Now this is 3 damage, and then any armor or things like that would be applied, whereas some of them are true damage, so there is that to keep in mind. However, if instead the attack had been a burst type of attack, you would draw 2, apply that, and then discard the third. Now this isn't great because our second one is a miss, and then our third that would be discarded is this ammo. So you can see where this one would still just have done the 3 damage, whether we did pulse or burst, but then we know that our miss is now pulled out of our deck because there is only 1. Now, the important thing about this, and very, very cool, is that you are going to flip these over. This is now used ammo, and you still have your other ammo available for future shots. So this ammo would stay here in your draw deck for that gun. However, the used ammo would stay discarded until you take an action to reload that gun. Now, you would spend 1 action point and discard 1 card. Then you're able to shuffle this deck again and reload your ammo. So if we wanted our Maverick to be able to continue with their turn, they would be able to flash fire with this card first, attacking this scrapper over here. They're scrapper number 3, so you would go over to the squad board here and reduce their health based on the amount of damage that you do to them. Now, the guns in this game are going to have a range to them. For example, our Falcon R22 here has a 5 range, so you're able to shoot enemies up to 5 away, which just makes sense with guns. However, there's also something special added where you have a critical range as well. So for these, if you're up to 1 to 2 spaces away, you're able to do an additional damage just for being that close because they're a bit more powerful. Now, another type of weapon that you're able to have is melee weapons. Characters are able to use melee weapons, and they do behave a bit differently. They're going to make your arms tired, so you're going to have an arm fatigue card that you're going to have to get rid of in the future and will take up space in your deck because it's going to represent that your arm was able to hit someone, they were able to do a lot of damage, but now it's a bit tired, which would make it a lot harder to be able to shoot. Then you would be able to follow up with something like this dual barrage. Now this one again would increase the threat by 1, so now our Maverick is just asking for it. They would gain another resolve token, but they would be able to perform a combat tactic. So they would be able to, with 1 gun, pulse or burst, and then they would be able to move and then pulse or burst again. So it's very, very strong that they would be able to do. However, you can see with how the ammo is happening that if they did choose to burst, they may have to tap into both of their guns at that point because they don't have enough action points to be able to also reload their gun. You can see where at the beginning of the game and you have all of your ammo, this doesn't seem like too much of a big deal. However, as the game goes on and the enemies tend to come closer to you, it can be really, really important and strategic when you choose to reload and how much ammo you go into specific situations with. But the best part about any of that is that these ammo decks you're able to upgrade. So you can upgrade them throughout the campaign, you'll get experience points that you'll be able to spend on different things, but the ammo decks you're able to upgrade and customize with your different characters. So not only can you have guns that you love, that you'll start finding different attacks that are very strong and you like how the combos match up, but after that you'll be able to make your ammo better and better as well, and it'll start doing very cool things as the enemies all escalate with you, of course. Now, after that player's turn, play will continue in initiative order to either whatever player is next, or if there is an enemy squad. So for example, the beta squad would go last at the end of this round, and you would also move them in numbered order, where all of these are numbered, and you would start with the first, second, third, etc., and they would take their different turns. So they do have different attacks that they would be doing. For example, this one is taking cover, so that one is going to be a weapon attack, and depending on the different attacks that they are making, they will draw from their own respective decks, whether it's melee, light fire, or heavy fire. Now, health in this game is going to be divvied out between your head, hands, feet, and chest. Now, your chest is going to be the most important, and if your chest is ever reduced to 0, typically you are out for that scenario, you are not doing well. However, your other areas are able to take a bit more damage, and that is when you would draw these different traumas. So you can see once you hit that token, you would draw a trauma, and for your head, arms, and legs, if you draw a trauma and then would receive more damage, you would take that damage to your body instead. So taking a look at the traumas, here you can see our minor trauma, which is going to be a leg fracture. So this one is for legs, and if your trauma wasn't happening to your legs, you would just continue to draw until you get the correct body part that you need to hurt. However, if we were to have to hurt our our legs. This is something that would be added to your skill deck as the top card, and then when played from your hand, it would do specific things, which is a -2 movement on your first move on your turn, but you are able to spend 2 action points to perform a quick splint. So you also need 2 resolve tokens to be able to do that, but you can cancel and remove it from your deck. So that's a way for you to be able to remove this, because they are going to start making your deck worse and worse as you start getting hurt. Now, to take a look at a severe trauma over here, we have broken ribs. So again, when gained, add this to your top of your skill deck. When played from hand, all damage against you inflicts +1 damage this turn. So you're going to be taking even more damage, but as I remind you, your body has 6 health, whereas a lot of your other things doesn't have much at all between 1 and 2. So you will be able to upgrade and augment this throughout the game as you continue in the campaign, but that being said, this is going to hurt you quite a lot. Now, a final thing that will happen is at the end of the round, once everyone has been able to take their different turns through initiative, if there is a scenario event showing, you would then trigger it. So you can see here that the top card is Scenario Event A, and you would resolve this at the end of the current round before moving forward, and the next card under that would be what determines the enemy AI for the next turn. So you would read this aloud, and typically these are going to be different things that trigger in this scenario book. They're going to have a little bit of a narrative element, but it's going to have different things happening, such as enemy ambushes, because you can see in different spots on the board there's a 1 and a 2, so you can kind of anticipate the enemies might be showing up there throughout the gameplay. Now, Terminus Frontier being such a big game, there are some things that I didn't cover at all. There are different conditions that you're going to be able to do depending on the different attacks that you're making or the attacks the enemies are making. There are different crew members that are going to be able to join your team that are going to be a bit different and a surprise for you. There are going to be branching story paths, so you're going to have different decisions that you'll have to make as a team to see how you want your campaign to shape up. And on top of all of that, you're going to be moving around on a grid system throughout space as you're going throughout these different scenarios. Now, you're going to be surprised by not only the regular scenarios, but the stealth scenarios, and then there are also the boss scenarios, which I wanted to show off. There's this boss miniature, and this is going to be our Sump Thresher. So you can see that they are quite large and a bit more intimidating than the different heroes that you have. Here we have the Maverick compared, for example, and this is one where you would be fighting against just the boss in the boss battle, and here you can see their card. So for these, they have different areas where you would want to be attacking them from certain spots, but that can also be very dangerous because their attacks will also target everyone that is around them as well. Terminus Frontier is going to be a campaign game for those that enjoy space battling and those that really enjoy upgrading your different characters. There's a lot of upgrading that you're able to do, and a couple of things that makes this game very unique is going to be things such as the squad formation system that lets you cooperatively choose initiative with all their players, but it also can make you a target and a bit dangerous if you're going too fast in the round because you're increasing your threat pretty quickly. But when you're working together with everyone, it can be very, very unique how you choose to manipulate that different squad formation board. Now, on top of that, I think the ammo system is honestly pretty cool. You know what ammo that you're starting off with, and as you choose to draw, you know when you need to reload, and it can be very, very strategic when you're choosing to do what, and that might force you into choosing one of the gunner roles, hoping that you have that additional action point to be able to reload. Now, the different characters that you're going to be able to upgrade with the things that they add, it's just going to feel smoother and stronger because you're already going to know the core game mechanics, and then you're going to be adding more and more to that. So if you'd like to check out more about Terminus Frontier, you can check out the link down below because they have now launched. Thank you all for watching the Board Game Code channel. I've been Professor Meg, and I will see you all next time. Bye.